Nicole Scott here from Mobile Geeks, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Oppo R5. This is currently the world's thinnest smartphone on the market. Yes, I know somebody else has put one out thinner, but they're not on the market yet. At 4.85 millimeters thin, is the R5 just too thin? Let's find out. The Oppo R5 is 5.2 inches with an AMOLED display with a resolution of 1920 by 1080. That gives it a PPI of 423. Under the hood, a Snapdragon 615 processor running at 2.1 GHz with 2 GB of RAM. On the rear, we have a 13 megapixel shooter capable of 4K and 120 frames per second slow motion. You'll notice that it does stick out from the phone a few millimeters. On the front, we have a 5 megapixel cam, hood, a 2000 milliampere battery that is fast charging. The disappointing thing right off the bat is this is 16 gigabytes and there's no SD card for expansion. It comes with LTE, Bluetooth, and the entire thing only weighs in at 155 grams, which is a little bit more than you might expect for a smartphone that is only 4.85 millimeters thick. As we walk around the system, you'll notice that there is no headphone jack. We've only got a volume rocker, power button, and a mini USB port, and that is where you're going to plug in your headset to. This is a huge fail in my opinion, but when you make something so thin, you have to sacrifice something. Now, when it comes to the design and build, we gave this definitely some high scores just because they made the phone feel so solid while making it so thin. And it's a sexy handset. I don't think it looks at all like the iPhone. I don't know why you commenters always insist on comparing all phones to the iPhone. Yeah, well, that's my one thing. I don't think it looks like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Leave a comment if you want to continue to compare things to the iPhone. So the display, 1920 by 1080, a PPI of 423. My biggest complaint about this display is it seems to have trouble with the greens. So you see when I flip onto this feather picture, we go back and forth, it just seems to, the greens take a lot longer to fill in. Now this is something that I don't know if you'll be able to see on camera, but when we pull the viewing angles, it's hard to see on camera, but the display does kind of hue green. I don't know if there's any issues with the green of this display, but that's one of the things that I did notice. Now, we still gave it high marks because the colors are fantastic, the vibrancy is great, everything about this display is totally wonderful apart from those two small glitches, and the fact that the display is framed in black. Now, if I had a black face on the phone, I probably wouldn't notice that there's a border. But once I see this border, I can't unsee it. And to me, it's made the phone a little bit ugly. I don't know if it's going to be a deal breaker for you, but I find it a little irritating once I noticed it's always there. So what about the software? We are running Android 4.4.4, which is good, definitely good, but it is running ColorOS, so it's ColorOS version 2. Now, the thing that everyone always says is, looks like iOS, but there's two ways you can go, no app drawer or with app drawer. I think it's a personal preference. I've started using phones without the app drawer because I've been reviewing more and more Chinese handsets, but I have to admit, sometimes I do end up getting a little bit lost if I have too many apps downloaded and I don't remember which app I'm looking for. There's no single place where I can go to look for all the apps. The other thing that you'll notice is that there isn't a lot going on here application-wise, which I think is absolutely fantastic. So Oppo has not loaded it with bloatware. They haven't done anything too extra. We have the Google apps that are all installed, like on most Android devices. We have their sound player, which we'll get to in the sound section. Security, backup and restore. There's a weather widget in there. Here's the tools that you're going to need, like the download manager and the system update, which is found separately. And ColorOS, to be honest with you, I think is a smartly set up operating system We have the brightness here. We pull that down, we can get to all of the notifications there. Now if we head into settings and we just look at how they've set up the back end, I think it's very nice. So safety and privacy, not all Chinese handsets are including things like that. So we have app encryption, guest mode, driving mode. There's an app manager, gestures in motion. So you can do gestures on the screen. Now my one complaint about this is air gestures I think are stupid. That's just a copy from Samsung that nobody uses. But if we head into the gallery, you'll notice that, let's go back up here. Those are the inside of my pocket. Because it is double tap to wake up, and then you can swipe to the right to go to the camera. So I think that that's what's happened as I've just been carrying it around in my pocket, which is a bit of a pain in the butt. Nice job, Oppo. The one thing that I do have to complain about is your icons are cartoony. And even in your theme store, let's go something like more manly. Superman. Still cartoony. 70s workman. Still cartoony. On the rear, we've got a 13 megapixel camera that does come with enough little features. So we have normal, Ultra HD, which is basically like HDR mode. So it's not super quick. One thing, if you click on it, you can add notes. I really do like that. Just go back. That was when I took a shot of the inside of my pocket. Awesome. Okay, well, I seem to not be able to navigate back, but let's take a couple shots of some food porn. Not too bad. Some Chinese dumplings here. Over some dim sum, there's some shiny meat. There's the selfie cam in action. That's an edited photo. That's normal. More normal. That's just me, but let me just go back into the camera and we can put Beautify on again. That's the rear camera. Let's turn that around to the 5 megapixel front facing. There I am again, hiding behind there. So you can see that you can do quite a lot of kind of touch-ups here to make you more beautiful or less beautiful, however you want to see this. But let's head back into the 13 megapixel shooter on the rear, out of beauty mode. Colorful night. We have, oh crap, I really want to be beautiful today. Super macro is a zoom. There we go. Now it's a little bit washed out, so you can see that that guy's red and then that guy's pink. So that's a little bit unfortunate. Goodness, it really likes those selfies that I wanted to take. Oh, there we go, back into the camera. So if we zoom out of there, we go into expert mode. Lots of things I like to see here. So we can adjust the shutter speed. So if we go outside, we can do trails of flames. We can adjust the ISO. We can do exposure compensation, which is always great when you want to get just the right shot. Now if we head into video mode, it's already going. So yeah, we go into video mode. We can do slow motion, HDR. Now the 13 megapixel takes it in 4:3, which I find really annoying. So I like to go down to 10 megapixel because then it's 16:9. Now you can do tap shutter, you can do timer, intelligent scene, which is pretty nice. So it's like if everybody's smiling, which is cool. And mirrored selfies in the rear mode again. So I mean, like, good enough. Definitely good enough. Now when it comes to battery life, we run the laptop mag battery test, and just on regular performance mode, we get 5.5 hours, which isn't exactly great. But if we turn down the brightness to say about 50% and put it on power saving mode, we get about 7.5 hours, which is all right. It should get you through the day. if you are a moderate user. A heavy user might have to charge up right before they go out at night. Now, one of the features that does push this into like an 8 rating like we're giving it instead of something a little bit lower is that it comes with fast charge. So what this means is the cable that they ship with the R5 is a 6-pin connector, and the charger is actually a high voltage charger. So you're able to get 75% of your charge in 30 minutes, and then the rest of the half hour takes the other 25%. Now the reason this is the same on laptops. The charger can just throw the power in anywhere on the battery, but the last 25%, it actually takes time to place the power around the battery. So it's like an organization thing. That's why the last 1 or 2% seem to always take forever. But it's a great feature to include, and it's another little premium touch from the R5. When it comes to sound, the R5 is surprisingly good. So we'll just hit play. So that is actually fairly loud. The interesting thing is that the sound is actually coming out of the speaker for the headset, which I think is kind of feature phone-ish like. Because if you remember back in the day, that's where the speakers used to play out of, was your earpiece. So Oppo has returned to that in this handset. What surprises me is how rich the sound is for something that is so thin. 4.85 millimeters should lead to something that is tinny. Now this isn't very loud, but at least it has good quality. What about price? The R5 should come in at about $400 US. That's how much it's roughly selling for in India. If we take a look at what else is on the market, you can pick up the OnePlus, which is a higher spec smartphone, for $100 less. So the R5 is not something that you're going to be picking up if you want the high-end tier of everything spec-based. What you're paying for, I guess just a little bit more in the R5 is the design, the thinness, and some of these higher end features like the smart charging. Is it worth picking up? If you want a sexy, rugged handset that stands out, well, then I guess the answer would be yes. The final verdict on the R5, yay or nay? Definitely a yay. I love the form factor. It feels solid in your hand. Something this thin should not feel this solid. The display is gorgeous. There is zero lag. Well, occasionally a stutter here and there, but nothing that the Snapdragon 615 can't handle for your average user. Are you going to be playing serious games on this? Probably not. It's thin. It's going to get hot. And you don't have the most battery life to spare on such frivolous things. You should probably focus a lot more on snapping some great pictures with the camera. That is the other thing that is fantastic about this device, is it came with a top-notch camera. It's especially good for food pornography, like I showed you in the camera review section. So what didn't we like about it? Well, battery life could be better. 2,000 milliampere and something like this thin is impressive, but it's about the day-to-day use that's really going to make the difference. I could have used another 500 milliampere and maybe just made it 5 millimeters thin, and then that way you could have added another couple hundred milliampere. But that is the name of the game, I guess, when you're trying to push forward and innovate like Oppo is doing. They may not have won the spec race in terms of the processor, maybe the display and the battery life, but they are making a statement design here. The camera's great, which is a so important feature for me, and I know a lot of other people out there. If you're a light to moderate user, you'll get through the entire day. The display is gorgeous if you like to look at your phone, which I do. I just don't like the black border around the edges. That's the only kind of crappy thing about the display, and the weird green issue, but that's not such a problem unless you like to look at that particular photo with feathers. The only other thing that I really have to complain about is the lack of headset jack. You have to use the USB to 3.5 millimeters, and that is a big thumbs down. We learned that didn't work in the late 2000s. Do you remember when Sony and Palm did their proprietary headsets and it just did not work? It pissed everybody off. And I think that's what's going to happen with this, except if you are a Bluetooth user, which it has that capability. So you should just be using a Bluetooth headset to listen to your music on the R5. So that's my verdict. There's a few things to be concerned about, but overall, I wouldn't shy away from grabbing this phone at all. So, Nicole Scott for Mobile Geeks. If you liked this review, please give me a thumbs up. And while you're at it, why don't you subscribe to our channel? It doesn't really mean anything to you except for my videos occasionally show up on your homepage. But it means the world to me. So that would be amazing if you could do that. Nicole Scott here for Mobile Geeks.